let's say that you have a string. So your tasks from this string is to produce an object looking like this. The letter A is repeated 2 times, then B is repeated 1 time, and then C 1 time, and D 1 time, and E 1 time, and F 1 time. Let's see how we can solve this. Initially, I advise you to write comments on the code. First, we'll save our initial long string in one variable, init. Then we would like to get each of those letters and to count their occurrences. So traditionally we can use the split function. Var array of letters equals to init.split, and we would like to split based on nothing. Alright, so first we're splitting the string into array. And then the next action I would like to do is to create our temporary object, which will hold our final result. Var tmp object, and we'll make it empty object. Now walk over each letters of the array. So we need to create a loop. So type for var I equals 0, I less than our array of letters dot length, and we would like to increase the counter I. And actually let's display right now on the console what we are walking over. So we will display array of letters I. Okay, let's run. We would like to do 2 things. If we have something in the array, increase its counter, otherwise its counter should be equal to 1. For the composition of the object, because it will have inside key and value, we will save the key into a new variable, and it will hold the current letter which we are looping over. So let's say this is the current letter, and it will be saved in the key variable. And for the value, actually we'll have either 1 or the previous value increased by 1. Here we are saving the current letter. If we have something inside of our object, so we'll write if our object name was tmp object, hasOwnProperty, and then we'll have to provide a property which is our key. If this is true, let's say for now we'll log out that something exists. We'll place just one else here for the other comment. So we'll write else, and we'll have to increase the counter. So we'll type temp object. We'll have to reference its key. We can reference it with those brackets equals to 1. And here, if it's existing, we have to increase the counter. So just type temporary object and then key, and then we'll increase the current value of the key with 1. Also, we can console log our temporary object, and we see we have one existing letter here, because this case ran once. And here we have our final result. Let's recap. First, we are splitting up this string to letters and creating an array of those letters, creating our temporary final object where we are saving our result, then looping through each of the letters one by one. We are checking whether we have a duplicate inside of this object, and in such case we are increasing its value with 1. In other case, we are setting up the default value as 1. Okay, let's see how we can improve this code. One thing we can do is just to use another type of loop element of this array of letters, and then we don't need even this key here. And we can check our temporary object whether it has this element, and in case it has it, we'll just increase it. So basically we are replacing every key with element. We are ready to try our new implementation. We see the same result, which means that we saved some lines here. The code can be improved further. We will just define the array in a different way using the spread operator. This is the ECMAScript 6 way. This will automatically give us access to each of the members of the array, so to each of the letters. If we command this and type console log init, you see that we have very good representation of an array out of our string. Instead of using a for cycle here, we can use a map, which means that from this init we can type map, and it will loop over each of the members of this array. And let's say here it's a letter. We can grab each of the letters, and we'll do something with those letters. We'll open up a new code block here. Let's describe here what we'll do with the letters. We can grab this logic and paste it here, and we don't need this loop anymore. And this is how we use map in order to map each of the letters and walk over the array. Here we have to replace the element with letter, as well as here. Let's run the code. We see the same result. Let's add further adjustments to this. This time, instead of mapping the array, we will use the popular ECMAScript 6 reduce function. Here we will use reduce. So the reduce will loop over each letter, and we'll save the result into the end result. And now we have to return from this reduce function. Let's say that we would like to return end result, and here we'll manipulate it, this end result, which is our object that will be created. So if end result has on property letter, increase its count, otherwise the count will be 1. And one thing also we would like to do is, before finishing the function, to give initial value of our object. So this will be the initial value of this end result. We don't need this temporary object because the reduce will create one for us. And actually we can save everything into a result variable, just like this, and we can display this variable here. And we see the same result. Once again, let's recap what the reduce does. It will walk over each of the letters, and we'll do some processing, so our usual processing here. Whatever it's returned from this processing, it will save it into our end result variable, and it will start with an empty object. Of course, we can optimize further this code by shortening this if-else statement. We'll remove the if, and if the result has on property letter, in such case we would like to increase and run this part of the code. Otherwise, we will run the other part of the code. So basically we are trying to do all the stuff in one row. This should be performing the same. Let's run. And this mistake is just because we already defined as a constant our result. Let's say we'll change the variable just for demonstration purposes, and we see the same result. This was an example on how one code can be transformed from a traditional JavaScript writing into a more modern ECMAScript 6 version.